Welcome to the Grace Period, where we get real about attorney mental health and well-being and pull back the veil on the high-stakes world of big law. I'm your host, Emily Logan Stedman. In this demanding profession, it is crucial that we don't lose ourselves in the hustle for billable hours. On the Grace Period, we have honest conversations about finding consistency, minimizing chaos, developing coping strategies, and destigmatizing mental health. It is time to prioritize our shared humanity, to find our grace period. So far this season on the Grace Period, we've defined big law, defined the billable hour and discussed how to track it, reviewed opening and closing rituals, and discussed having a master case chart. Today, we'll talk about time blocking, mastering your calendar, and time management. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about how time management is self-care. Lawyers are no strangers to the relentless demands of this job: long hours, tight deadlines, a never-ending influx of tasks. All of these things pull on our time and can lead to overwhelm and burnout if we're not careful. In this high-pressure environment, effective time management is not just a productivity hack. It becomes a form of self-care, a tool to protect and improve our well-being. Time management is a practice. It is the practice of organizing and prioritizing your tasks and goals to make the most effective use of your time. Instead of reacting to whatever fire needs putting out next, time management allows you to proactively structure your day for maximum efficiency and proactivity. The benefits of mastering time management can be game-changing for attorneys. It reduces overwhelm and stress by giving you a sense of control over your schedule, a sense of autonomy, something a lot of us feel is lacking in our professional life. When you have a clear plan or a list of prioritized tasks, you're not constantly wondering what you should be doing next. Also, with better time management, you actually have time for other things: exercise, hobbies, relationships outside of work. Effective time management creates space for whatever you feel you need in that moment. A nap, more work, business development, a hobby, you name it. I think attorneys overestimate the time it takes to put time management in place and in practice, and underestimate the benefits you get from it. The upfront planning and intentionality take time, sure, but they create time and space, a lot of it, on the flip side. Time you get back, time you get to use for whatever means most to you or is most needed by you or others in that moment. This, in turn, reduces stress, boosts productivity, and creates space, time, and freedom. So what are some time management tools you can start practicing right away? One is time blocking. This involves dividing your day or week into dedicated time slots or blocks for specific tasks or activities. Instead of working reactively from a never-ending to-do list, you can proactively schedule your priorities into concrete blocks of time on your calendar. This approach helps you maintain focus, minimize distractions, and ensure that important tasks receive the dedicated attention they need and often deserve. By allocating specific intervals for tasks, you create boundaries that protect your workflow and increase your chances of accomplishing your goals within the designated timeframes. So what I mean by this is let's say an email comes in and a task is associated with it. You might schedule that for Thursday at 10 a.m. And then when Thursday at 10 a.m. rolls around, you're committed to working on that task. I, candidly, am not the best at saying tomorrow at 10 a.m. I will work on X, Y, and Z, putting it on my calendar and sticking to it. But this works for a lot of people, so I encourage you to try it out. For me, time blocking looks like blocking time on my calendar when I try desperately to not have any meetings. For example, on Monday morning, my calendar shows others that I'm out of the office until noon. Every Monday, I have it blocked off. No meeting Monday mornings. Am I out of the office? No, but not scheduling meetings on Monday mornings allows me to start the week on the right foot. I do the same on Friday. No meeting Friday. My calendar is blocked as if I'm out of the office. Am I? No, but I protect the time for deep work and closing out the week effectively. And let's get real. No one likes a meeting on Friday at noon or later. Listen, of course, I sometimes have meetings, travel, calls, conferences, court, depositions on Monday mornings and Friday. But by blocking this time, it reminds me to ask myself, do I want to? Do I have to give up this time for this meeting? Most of the time, I don't. I do not have to. I started blocking off Mondays and Fridays about a year ago. It took several months for it to hold, for me to consistently think through whether or not I offer up this time. And when it works, when those times have no meetings, it is amazing, and I have genuinely never regretted it. Of course, one consequence of this is that I have more meetings on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as a result, but I remain available and responsive every step of the way. Related to this is being diligent about docketing deadlines and reminders on your calendar. For example, there are certain administrative tasks I do every week. So I put a recurring calendar reminder on the books so I don't have to remember these tasks on my own. Over time, it becomes habitual, automatic. I do this for updating my master case chart, sending client updates, certain business development outreaches, and more. Your firm might have a docketing system, but I like to calendar my own deadlines, both internal and external deadlines. What I mean by that is in addition to calendaring when the court or other deadline is, the final deadline, I'll put a calendar appointment on the date I want to get a draft to the client, or the date I hope to have a draft ready, or the date I hope the associate I'm working with will send me the draft. I include all relevant team members on these calendar invites and put them on my master case chart, like we discussed in episode 5. I do this so no one is surprised and there's some planning out ahead of a deadline, so it's not always a fire drill day of. Another topic is calendaring things for others. If you use Outlook, there is a scheduling assistant that can show when internal people you're including on the invite are available. You can just schedule the time when they're available, but again, no one likes to just receive calendar invites without any context. We've all had that moment where a meeting was just put on your calendar and you've had to rearrange things. So I recommend confirming ahead of time whether or not the person likes things done that way, just put on their calendar. You can communicate things like, I see you're available at these times. It looks like we're both available at these times. If your calendar's not current, I'll find other times and I'll send an invite accordingly. These are helpful ways to explain your intent to the other person about calendaring, but be intentional and meaningful about it. Again, no one likes being surprised with a calendar invite without any background or other context. Finally, if you're constantly scheduling one-on-ones or other meetings, look into something like Calendly, or if your firm has Microsoft, you can use their bookings program. This allows you to connect a scheduling tool to your calendar and send others a link. The recipient then schedules a meeting at their convenience, but only during times you've told the app you're available. This has saved me so much time rather than hurting the cats, aka people's calendars and schedules. If you're interested in learning more about time management, I highly recommend Cal Newport's book, Deep Work. Lawyers, and particularly associates, can't always create huge blocks of time to think deeply, but our job requires deep thought, and this book helped me get creative about how I schedule my time. Finally, experiment. As an attorney, you must be available to clients, partners, etc. But mostly gone are the days of being available 24/7. You need to be reasonably available and responsive. You do not have to give up every second of your day to be seen by others as reasonably available and responsive. I promise. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Grace Period. I hope this discussion has provided some insights about managing your time and calendar to create room for deep work and self-care. Next week, we'll talk about taking ownership of your work. Remember, you don't have to sacrifice your well-being for career success. By prioritizing self-care, setting boundaries, and seeking support, you can survive and even thrive in the law and in big law. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. That is the path to our grace period. Disclaimer. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute professional advice of any kind, including legal advice. No attorney-client relationship is created by listening to this podcast.